Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in today. It is ModelcarNick, and I have a really cool model to show you guys around today. This is none other than the Porsche GT3rs 4.0, and it is finished in one of the launch specifications, which is the black on silver. This is, in my opinion, the best spec you can get for this particular model. It's very understated, and I just think, it's the most realistic looking out of all the other ones that they made. To my knowledge, there is a few different variations of this particular model. You can get blue, green, orange, white, and then I'm probably missing another one in there. But for the most part, those are the most standard colors you'll see. I think there's a green one too, but for me, the black one's the way to go. So let's get up front and take a look at this model in detail. So starting up here, as you can see, the model is finished in this really stunning gloss black, and it's not a metallic paint. As you can see, it's kind of just a straight gloss black. Looks really good, really clean, and I've had this model for I believe 4 years now, and it's held up very well over time. I just gave it a nice polish. It looks absolutely incredible still to this day. So like I said, we'll start back up here in the front, and the first thing I like to notice is that this car has a really cool livery to it. It's got this silver stripe with kind of a secondary red pinstripe that goes all around the top and through the sides of this model. The silver kind of continues to the front right here, and it wraps around this front daytime running light, which does look pretty good, I guess. I mean, you can kind of see the little pins where it's held in. But I think for, what this model is, it's a Maisto. It costs about $15, The details are going to be, not so great, but for the price, I think they do just just a good job, I guess. But the headlights themselves, I think they're pretty basic, but they are really clear, and I think they look pretty good, to be honest. But moving on down towards the splitter, as you can see, the silver kind of wraps around this front air intake, and it looks really good. Fake mesh grills up here on the front, that's pretty standard for all Maisto models, so nothing really too crazy. Down here we have a lower front lip, and it's finished in kind of this matte plastic. No real carbon fiber to mention on this model at all, actually. So just like all real Porsches, they use kind of this cheap plastic material, and that follows through on the model, so that actually is pretty accurate. But moving on down the side, there is kind of like these side canards, I guess, that are on both sides, and they are finished in the same kind of silver paint that the livery is finished in, and I think it looks pretty good. Moving on down to the side though, the wheels are kind of this 10-spoke design, and they look really good. They actually come across kind of white on camera, but they are silver, and they match kind of with the the silver livery that goes on with this car. So they are a little bit brighter, but I think they look pretty decent. As you can see behind those wheels, really nice drilled rotors sitting behind those wheels, and then a red Porsche brake caliper. As you can see, it has the Porsche script written down the side of it, and then sitting in the middle we have a center lock RS wheel cap. I did also forget to mention, obviously this is a Maisto, so this is a fully opening model. So let's go ahead and pop open the front real quick and take a look what's under there. So as you can see, I kind of have the little rubber straps that hold the model down, but not really too much to mention under here. As you can see, the molding kind of emulates the real car, I guess. I'm not really too sure what any of this stuff is, but it's cool that it's not just a flat, plastic design. They actually drew some lines in there, and it looks pretty good. I think even it does say Porsche right there at the top, so that is kind of cool. Actually a pretty good looking front engine, or not engine bay, but frunk. I also did forget to mention the Porsche logo is up here at the front, and it does look pretty good. As you can see, it's just a sticker, so nothing really too crazy. Besides that, you can see the livery looks pretty good. And then down here also there is a little front scoop. As you can see, it's kind of just mesh again with the fake. You can't actually see anything through there, but for what it is, I think it's pretty good looking. Moving on down the side again though, we have a little gas cap right here. You can't open it, unfortunately, but it is there. And then we have this RS 4.0 badging right here on the side, which is part of the livery, and then the livery continues down the side. I think they did a pretty good job too with the body lines of this model. They're nice and sleek and rounded, as you can see, and then the rear arches kind of stick out a little bit too, so I think they did a pretty good job just sculpting this model in general. But looking at the model though, it does have this kind of chrome trim surrounding the windows, and it looks pretty decent. Silver to match on the mirrors, and then kind of a red underneath that, which I'm just now noticing for the first time, so that's kind of cool feature. We'll move towards the rear of the model. The back wheel is pretty much the same as the front, but looks like it has a smaller brake caliper in the back, so that's really the only difference to note. The rear of the model itself, I actually think it looks pretty sweet. As you can see, these GT3RSs have pretty big wings on the back of them, but this one's actually pretty small considering what the new GT3RS, the 992 generation, the wing on that thing is huge, and this one looks pretty moderate now these days. But yeah, on the top of it, it does have the Porsche script, which is really cool, and then moving on down, as you can see, it's kind of like sculpted, but it's not like absolutely hollow. They kind of have a black piece of plastic kind of hiding, you know, behind these little gaps, but I feel like on the real car that should be open. So, you know, they didn't really emulate all the details perfectly, obviously, but you know, it's kind of cool that they etched out the little lines, I guess. But the side blades are also finished in the same silver that the rest of the model is, so that is pretty cool. And then as you can see, the livery from the front kind of follows through to the rear and stops right here. But looking at the back, there is kind of a lot of details to take in, so let's see what they have. So right here, there is also a little air vent exit right there on the side, so that is kind of neat. And then dual tipped exhaust finished in chrome, pretty standard on all Porsche models that have that. But it does look fairly good, but unfortunately they do not go down. They're pretty deep. They are kind of like have this little bubble in there that stops the exhaust from going down, which is kind of unfortunate. But keep your eye back here, and as you can see, it has the RS 4.0 badging, and then like a little third brake light. The brake lights themselves are pretty underscript because this is a pretty old car these days, so they didn't really have too crazy tail lights like the newer cars do now, but I think it does a pretty good job. As you can see, like this front stripe kind of follows through all the way to the rear and comes through underneath the wing, and it looks really good. The wing kind of does have like a second little spoiler right here, as you can see, so that is kind of a neat little feature. One thing to note on this model, it is kind of hard to clean because the wing is so interestingly shaped. You know, it's kind of hard to get underneath all these little surfaces, so just, you know, make sure to clean it, you know, a little bit better than I did if you decide to. But the rear engine bay does open up, which I like because compared to some of the newer Porsches like this GT3 right here, the rear engine bay compartment actually doesn't open on this model, but the older GT3RSs do, so that is kind of a one-up that this model has compared to the new ones. So taking a look back here, it actually does have a really good engine bay in my opinion. As you can see, it actually is finished in carbon fiber, and that's the only carbon fiber you'll get on this model. But it is kind of neat that they actually did a really good job on this engine bay. As you can see, these red bits right here are the engine like air filters, and then we have the RS 4.0 badging right there on the block, and it says Porsche as well. And then back there you can see there's a bunch of like tubes and whatnot. I don't really know all the parts. Looks like there's an oil filler cap potentially back there. Maybe that's coolant, who knows. But it is cool that you can open that up and take a look at it. So we'll close that back down, and I am just noticing this wing kind of moves a little bit, as you can see. I don't know if it's supposed to do that, but it's a little fragile, so if I were you, I would close the model from down here and not the wing itself. But let's take a look at this interior real quick. But first, I forgot to mention, obviously this is a RS car, and it does have a full roll cage inside of it, but it's finished in black, so you can't really make it out too well, but it is really cool. And then right here on the window itself, it does have a little Porsche logo right there. So that is a really cool little feature that I noticed today after having this model for a few years. I do think this model has a pretty good, you know, door opening angle. I think on a lot of the newer Maistos, the doors only open to about this position. These go open just a little bit further. And just to demonstrate that, and maybe I'm wrong, but I swear on these newer cars, maybe they open about the same. They just don't open all the way, which is kind of unfortunate. So a knock for both of them. But let's take a look at this interior real fast. So as you can see, kind of a two-tone black and red with some silver accents all along this interior. Porsche bucket seats look really cool. As you can see, the top part is finished in this aluminum finish, and then it's got this red seat insert. You can see like the seat belt buckles down there. I think they did forget to add maybe the seat belt itself. Maybe I'm just missing it. It might just be sitting behind that. I would assume this car would have like a 4-point harness set up normally, but yeah, it looks like there's a little red seat belt sitting right there on the side, but you can't really take that feature in. It's kind of hidden. Let's take a look at the steering wheel real fast. As you can see, it's got the older kind of spoke Porsche design steering wheel, but I think it looks really good today. Looking up there, they have like a red 12 o'clock stitching stripe right there. And then obviously the 4-pedal system, or I guess 3-pedal system, obviously the manual transmission. The gear shifter itself is pretty nondescript. As you can see, it's kind of just this black, shifter, nothing really too crazy. The gauge cluster itself, I honestly cannot make out any detail on there, but there probably is something on there, I would imagine. Besides that, nothing really too much else to mention. There's a little bit more red on the door cards. But yeah, I mean, honestly, a pretty good effort on the interior, I think, from Maisto. I think for what you're paying, not a bad deal. But overall, these models are really good. I mean, I don't know, it's just this model in particular, I really like it, so I might be a little biased. I think I've seen a few these days sell for around the $35 to $40 mark. I did just sell this model, that's why I'm doing a review of it today. I know this is an old car. I sold it for $30 to a close friend. From what I paid, I made a little bit of money, but, I think this is such a cool car. Kind of hard to find the black versions these days sitting in the stores, so, there's a few options out there if you really like this model, but for me, the black one's the way to go. But, out of a rating out of 10, I'd probably give this model a solid 7.5 out of 10. I think for a Maisto, it has a really good level of detail. I mean, you saw the engine bay. Good effort, I think, in the front. Obviously, it's not auto art. There's no carpet on the interior. There's no windows right here. So a few knocks and points, but for what you're paying for, and I think what you're getting is a pretty good model. So it's kind of my opinions on it, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take it easy, and bye.